And I'll show you over here. This is what everyone's talking about over the weekend that ruined a lot of sunny days thinking about this. I had a relative of mine say, are we in World War III? We're not. But it's not good, this, because it's the Middle East, it's incendiary. World holds its breath as Israel vows to exact price. That's because Iran attacked Israel directly with something like 300 missiles and drones, nearly all of them taken out by Israel's Iron Dome, it's called. Israel vows revenge. This is when all the world leaders, Biden and so on, will say to Israel, think before you do anything. It's time the world faces evil empire in Tehran. Sounds like the Mail wants some sort of counterattack. And here, next to Nicole Scherzinger, RAF Top Guns foil Iran blitz. So that's the story today. And obviously, Rishi Sunak is mentioned here, condemning the attack by Iran, confirming RAF jets were involved. Foreign Secretary David Cameron called the attack a total failure. Have a look.
We are a supporter of Israel and a supporter of Israel's right to self-defence. Our role in the military operations, as it were, was very much to backfill for the United States in the operation we do jointly together against ISIL in Iraq and Syria. So we provided planes to do that so the Americans could do more over the skies of Israel. But at the same time, we said that, look, if there are drones coming from that region into or missiles into Israel, we'll shoot them down, and that's what our very skilled pilots did.
We'll do that again?
We will, if there was another Iran attack, Iran has said they're not going to attack again, and after the failure of their attack, I'm not surprised. But absolutely, no, we'll always keep these things under review. We're trying to avoid escalation, and the action we took alongside the Americans and others clearly has helped to stop that escalation because the Iran attack was an almost total failure.
The Foreign Secretary there, more than 300 drones and missiles were launched by Iran, as I mentioned. That's from the Israeli military. They were counting. They say they've intercepted the majority of the drones and missiles. We helped as well, as I mentioned. Around 12 people have been injured in Israel overall, according to Israel's defense forces. Emily, what do you make of it?
I mean, it's incredible footage, this, isn't it? I mean, this was no small attack. 300 mixed missiles, a total failure. 99% are shot down. I think it was telegrammed. Everyone was given 3 days warning. So I do think Iran knew this was going to fail.
It was a bit performative, was it, in some strange way?
It might have been a bit performative. I think they have to prove to their base in Iran that, you know, they're not going to take an attack sort of lying down, as it were. But at the same time, this was an unprecedented attack. And they will know that there is a very good chance that Israel will retaliate, is going to retaliate. And this seems to just be carrying along in the Iran playbook, which is try and cause as much insurrection in that area and instability as possible.
The Iran attack was a retaliation for an Israeli strike that killed Iranian military commanders in Syria earlier this month. But world leaders are now warning Israel to show restraint. And yeah, I guess the next move is the key one, Kevin, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm trying to come to terms with agreeing with what David Cameron said, but I think his assessment there was correct. Remember, the Israeli strike on the Iranian commanders in Damascus in Syria was on an embassy site, a diplomatic site, which are treated as your territory. All the embassies in London of foreign countries are treated as their territory in London. That's why Iran responded this way. But as Emily says, it was telegraphed in advance. Thankfully, 99% of the missiles, drones were shot down. And you want it to cool. You want it to be cooled. That's what you want. You want to pull back. Israel attacked Iran. Iran's attacked Israel. You want them both to stop instead of hitting back ever harder. Otherwise, you get into a Middle East war. I don't want Britain to be sucked into that. And yes, in a way, Israel's played into what the Iranian regime wanted, but also the Iranian regime has played into what Netanyahu wants. He's under huge pressure at home. It's now a diversion from what's happening in Gaza and the humanitarian crisis there. And we were discussing in Britain whether or not there should be an arms embargo. Well, in a week, after aid workers are killed, including 3 Britons, you now have British arms being used to defend Israel.
But people I saw on Twitter yesterday saying, how can we be reacting to the Iranian drone strike if we're not reacting to what's happening in Gaza, what Israel is doing in Gaza, because that is at the centre of all of this.
But we are reacting. We've been reacting ever since the horrendous Hamas attack took place. We've reacted non-stop. It's just those people on Twitter feel that we haven't gone far enough because they want to call for an absolute ceasefire, and that essentially will take away Israel's ability to defend itself and go after Hamas that came into its country. What this government have consistently called for is a ceasefire for a period of time so that aid can get in. We have fought extremely hard. The current government is protesting extremely hard that aid gets in and that famine is avoided.
And we've been
other
losing
people
that.
want to go further and say this ends full stop. But they've got no answer for how
got to move on, but
Israel then
quickly.
moves on with Hamas.
I get the point. We shoot down Iranian drones that are going to kill Israelis. Why don't we shoot down Israeli drones that are killing Palestinians? And why don't we shoot down Russian drones killing Ukrainians? Well, the answer there is because Russia's got nuclear weapons.
All right, after the break. Welcome back. We're live on Channel 5 with Emily and Kevin, and later we discuss whether it's time for Angela Rayner to resign. But first, let's return to the question of whether the UK should be involved in Iran's attack on Israel. 0207 862 2222 is the number. Let's bring in the former chair of the Commons Defence Select Committee, Lieutenant Colonel Tobias Ellwood. Hello, Tobias.
Good morning to you.
So, we are involved in that we've helped to shoot down some drones. Is that, firstly, from your point of view, the right thing to do?
I think you oversimplify this. This was a state-on-state attack by a country that's used proxy influence to destabilize the Middle East for years, for decades. Indeed, this is the first time, unprecedented, that itself has attacked another state. And it's quite right that that state that we have a strong relationship with, we come to its aid and its defense. And that is then the big question that we have to ask ourselves. Why did we allow Hamas, the Houthis and the Hezbollah to develop such capabilities to unsettle the Middle East over decades itself? Lebanon, Yemen, Gaza as well. We're now having to...
But we were talking earlier about the fact that very recently Israel attacked the Iranian embassy in Damascus. That would be regarded as Iranian soil. So Iran is presumably seeing this as a tit for tat.
Well, I don't think it's an equal tit for tat if that's the actual case. Israel has denied that, but you are correct. We cannot deny that when we look at embassies and consulates, they are seen as sovereign territory of the country they represent. But you and I will recall what happened in the 80s when the American embassy in Tehran was sieged by those students and hostages were taken for almost a year until Ronald Reagan came into power. So there was no recognition, no respect for that sovereign territory by Iran, yet that's what they're claiming now. Whatever the situation is, you have to ask yourself whether this is proportionate response to what was happening there with the removal of Quds Force generals who were based in Damascus at the time, and sending over 300 missiles and drones right across the country as a state attack is disproportionate by any sense. And it's only thanks to the state-of-the-art, world-leading defense capabilities that Israel has, because Hamas has been continually attacking it, that actually we saw, I think, very, very limited collateral damage, and we were able to move forward. The question now for Israel, if I may, is to show strategic patience. Do not rush to retaliate. There was huge global sympathy after Hamas's barbaric attacks on the 7th of October, but that progressively evaporated when the consequences of Israel's retaliation then, when we saw such scale of collateral damage, destroying infrastructure, and of course now leading to famine, actually they lost the support of the international community, causing tensions to rise between Jerusalem, indeed London, and indeed Washington, D.C. as well, even obliging the UK to drop aid packages in to Gaza as well. So the right course of action is to actually prevent further escalation. That's what everybody's calling for, including David Cameron this morning. We need to be more cognitive about containing Iran's direct threats and also how we challenge Iran's proxies.
I'm just wanting to know whether you think we, the UK, should be involved in this at all.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the wider question that we've discussed in the past as well is where our world is going. It's becoming ever more contested, ever more fragile, ever more dangerous. And the West's ability to maintain global order is increasingly being tested. If we allow a state-on-state attack to go on, uninterrupted in any way whatsoever, then that situation worsens. There is a relationship developing between Iran and Russia. I suspect Iran informed Russia prior to this. The fact that we are now talking about Middle East, right, Gaza, about Iran, means we're not talking about Ukraine. And at the moment, the tide is turning there. So we have to recognize and rekindle our Cold War sense of statecraft to deal with the multitude of challenges that we see around our world. Otherwise, we enter a very, very dark chapter indeed. Britain has played a role in the past. We've got to in the future now.
Thank you very much, Steve, for joining us. Tobias Ellwood, Conservative MP. So we're asking whether Britain should be involved in this. Steve in Warwickshire, what do you think?
Hello, panel. Hello, Jeremy. I think we should walk away from this. Warmongers and weapons dealers all over the world should be... We'll be loving this, but this is not our fight. It's not our fight. They should... I read this morning the RAF was getting involved.
Yeah, that's right.
Until that,
yeah.
I was sort of okay, and then I realised why the RAF are getting involved. I don't understand. We're trying to do what we did in the past. We're trying to police the whole world, and we can't police the whole world.
I think, Emily, should we just start to say, look, let's just get on with our lives and leave this?
No, because we live in a global we live in a global world.
We haven't got an army. We've virtually got half an army.
What happens elsewhere does end up affecting us. And also America and Israel are our allies. We do need allies in this new global order. And we were based out there. And as David Cameron did explain early this morning, we are out there, part of our operation against ISIL in Iraq, in Syria. We helped with the RAF. There is no commitment at this moment, definite commitment, that if this goes further, Britain will commit further. They're saying everything is under review,
Kevin,
that we want as this country to avoid escalation.
OK, all of that was used to justify going into Iraq and Afghanistan, which
I know.
See as disastrous now.
Yeah.
So where do we draw the line, Kevin?
Yeah, I think pretty quickly we need to draw a line. I think it was quite right if the RAF are there. It's being telegraphed. These missiles and drones are coming to shoot them down, because I think David Cameron got it, that if those missiles and drones had got through and devastated Israel, then Israel would hit back.
Even one.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, I think it's a 5-year-old girl's quite seriously ill. She got injured, an airbase, it got hit.
A 7-year-old.
But because that attack was thwarted, then Israel shouldn't hit back again. But I'm with Steve and the instincts that I don't want Britain to get dragged in again. But I think it was the right thing for the RAF to do, to try. In a way, it was de-escalated by shooting those drones and missiles down.
Let's take some more calls. Angela's in Cardiff. Do you think Britain should be involved in this, Angela?
No, I don't. As previously been said, we've got involved in things that have turned out to be disasters. And I don't think we have the capability now that we had before. And I think, as far as Israel is concerned, prior to what happened on October the 7th, I don't think a lot of people in my social circle had no strong feelings about the Middle East, didn't really talk about it that much. And then it happened, and everybody was very sympathetic. But I think the response from Israel has been just catastrophic, for not only for Palestine, but also for Israel's reputation. And I think if they were to just walk away from this now, I think they may win back some sympathy from the rest of the world. But as far as I can see, they have none now as a result of what they've done in Gaza. They have had no thought about children, and I mean, it's just horrific.
Crucially, you don't think we should be thinking, all right, we need to help, let's say, Israel form a response to Iran that doesn't start the Third World War? Let's start like that.
Yeah, I mean, but is that possible? That's very, very chancy situation. We don't know what's going to happen. And I do think sometimes that Britain is seen as the police of Europe and beyond. And I just don't know that we've got the capability now or the will from your previous speaker.
Thanks, Angela, so much. After the break, we'll take more calls on this. Should Britain be getting involved when it comes to Iran's missile and drone attack on Israel? Emily, you're upset about the callers.
Well, I just think there is a sort of leap happening here. I understand why people are incredibly upset. It's tragic what is happening in Gaza. But there seems to be this leap from what's happening there to basically saying that Israel has no right to defend itself. And I just want callers, when they call in, and the general public to think, if 300 missiles had just come across to Britain, if a terror group like Hamas had come into London, raped, shot our young people, and we would just sit there and do nothing. It's simply not true. Iran is likely, who are funding, by the way, Hamas, Hezbollah, lots of terror states across that whole region. They are going to have a nuclear weapon in 2 years.
So you think callers should be more outraged by this?
Yeah, well, I just think there just doesn't seem to be a sort of sense of, if this was happening to us, how would we retaliate?
I didn't hear Steve or Angela question Israel's right to defend itself. I think they were questioning Britain getting involved on behalf of Israel. And also, Angela
they actually said that Israel had to really hold back at this point. But imagine if that was us. We're talking about 300 missiles coming towards us.
And Angela was quite rightly complaining what's happened in Gaza. Attacking Hamas is one thing. Killing 33,000 Palestinians, the vast majority of them women and children, is not acceptable. Now, I criticise Iran as long as you like. Britain's got dirty hands with Iran. We overthrew a democratic prime minister in the 1950s in Iran with a coup because he was going to nationalise the arms industry. We then wouldn't give them £400 million plus interest. We owed them for tanks we never delivered until there was a deal over Nazanin Zaghari Radcliffe's relief. I mean, we're not innocent.
It's interesting to hear Emily is cross about people's calls. Rachel in Bournemouth, hi.
Hello.
What do you think, Rachel?
Well, I'm a British Israeli. I have family in northern Israel. I don't think Britain should get involved because they have a different agenda. Israel is defending themselves. What the mainstream media, Britain's interest, I think, is in the oil. But it's Israel. There's no oil in Israel, and it's all about our security. What the mainstream media aren't doing is reporting that rockets have been fired from Hezbollah into northern Israel since October the 7th. 10,000 people have been displaced. Yeah. So the mainstream media never report this. So, I mean, it was. I do believe UK should support Israel because we have a right to defend ourselves. But it's very unfair, and I'd just like to say, Kevin, that Hamas have been proven to be lying about the casualties in Gaza as well. It's not 30, whatever figure he said.
33,000, he said. You don't think it is?
Yes.
How many is it, Rachel?
No, not.
Because the aid workers, the UN, independent journalists, all in Gaza.
The UN have been proven to be involved with Hamas.
No, they haven't.
They're part of.
No, they haven't. There was an allegation against the relief organisation, and very little, if any, evidence was put up for that, Rachel. No, I'm sorry. I've got to have.
I think Kevin's right, Rachel. It was, and there were some individuals who were accused, but that's very different from what you're saying. All right, let's leave it there. Thank you, Richard in Bedfordshire. Hi.
Hi. Hello there.
What do you think? Should we be involved? That's what we're asking.
Well, yeah, we should. Those that say we haven't got the capability, just look at the RAF taking out these drones. I mean, if those drones or the missiles hadn't been taken out, we've had a much worse situation. Israel would have retaliated in a much bigger way, and we've stopped that from happening. No, we've got to get involved. We've got to protect them. We can't I feel sorry for all those innocents that are killed, but yes, we've got to help them.
With the argument against maybe this, that Israel's phenomenally well provisioned in terms of its defence equipment. It has this Iron Dome. It's got a lot from the USA. It probably doesn't need us. On the other hand, if we're in it, we make ourselves a target as well.
Well, I think that allies should stick together anyway. I mean, you've got to go back to World War II, haven't you? Haven't we not got involved in that? We wouldn't have been talking today about this. So we have to help Israel. And I think people are burning their heads in the sounds, quite frankly, and not looking at why.
I agree with Richard. The point of us all joining in this particular attack, and the French were on side. Jordan was on side. Jordan has a huge Palestinian population. We were trying to show Iran that if they take this further, there will be a coalition, a very broad coalition that is going to help defend Israel. We have to remember, Iran has made it quite clear, the people who are ruling Iran at the moment, they want the full destruction of Israel. They loathe America. This is a sort of hate state. Look at what it does to its women. So that was the point of us helping, is showing that if Iran want to take this further, and this is a country, by the way, that may have a nuclear weapon in 2 years' time.
We've got another call.
So,
Bill in Manchester, hi.
Oh, good.
Do you think we're right to be involved, Bill?
Absolutely not. We initiated all this, as we've done everywhere else, as a empire and the tail of the American dog since World War II, getting rid of Mossadegh because he wouldn't deal with the Anglo-Iranian oil. And that was very popular, but it wasn't very popular with Britain.
And we put in the Shah.
Yeah. The Shah was a fascist. And the secret police tortured lots of people. So yet again we interfere. As in Chile we interfere. As in the Belgian Congo we interfere. As in the Falklands we interfere.
We can sometimes do things that are good, can't we? There's a difference between doing bad things and doing good things.
It's done for business needs, always. We dress it up that we care about democracy. We don't care about it, as long as the person's okay with business needs for the former British Empire. Basically.
All right, thank you, Bill, very much indeed. Thanks for all your calls. After the break is